Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be checking out another awesome Sheik Mainland kit here, the Actaeon. This one was originally released in, I think, two different colors. I think it was gray and like black. And I wasn't super into like the colors on it. I do really enjoy this line of kits from Sheik Mainland, but then recently it got released in two more colors, white, which is what we're going to be taking a look at in today's video, white with gold, which looks really cool. Then also there's a red version as well. So if you are a fan of this design, you have a few different color options that you can choose from, but I really like the kind of regal design of this being in white with the gold accent, having the lance, it kind of has that kind of look to it. So I think it looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get into it here for today's video. So for the box art here on the front, we have a really cool illustration of the Actaeon with just this plain white background there as well. You can see there's a whole bunch of text and logos here, honorably produced by Orange Star Workshop. I think that's in reference to the fact that this is just like an original design and not just like an interpretation of an existing Gundam design. We've got the advanced polymer technology inside the UA, that's the Ultra Action Series 144 scale logos and stuff over here on this side. But on the ends of the box here, you can see we've got this slashing pose there, artwork of it with this beam saber effect. I can't really hardly read that, let alone try to pronounce it, so I'm not going to, but cool artwork there. On the other end of the box, we got different artwork here as well, which is pretty cool. Here on the bottom side, we've got a mecha overview there, some text in Chinese with this large logo there. And on the other side, again, different artwork there, the logo, text. And on the back side is cool, kind of like night scene there with the big Actaeon text, all looking very regal. So there's some more text there kind of with that background image. Very cool. Let's go ahead then and get to our contents inside. First of all, it looks like we do have some water slide decals along with our card in here. Once again, the card being this sort of like stat card. On the one side, you've got cool artwork here of the mecha in kind of like a chibi form. That's really cool with some stats there. And then some more stats here on the back. Not really sure what that's used for, but there's that, and then our water slide decals here as well. Armor penetrator. Most of these look to be in kind of light gray for the decals. Not a ton of them, but some nice water slide decals there. And then for our instruction or owner's manual here, again, some really cool artwork on this. Sort of like this futuristic sky city there. You can see a bunch of people and this thing in like kind of this hangar, all electrified and all that. Looks really cool. So there's some lore and some more banners and stuff there for you. And we got some more artwork here on the inside. Now, it says honorably produced. I wonder if any of this is AI generated. I would hope not. I mean, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if it was. I mean, you kind of hope that it's not, but some cool artwork there of the mecha anyway. That's actually going to continue here onto the next pages as we've got a bunch more art of this kind of in the hangar, the weapons, the shield, this kind of lance, and then some more kind of action images over here. There's some text up at the top. It's all kind of there in Chinese. And then here on the next page even, there's some more text at the top and then some like snapshot images looking very AI, I've got to say. So I'm not entirely convinced that that's not AI, but all right, anyway, got some more art here on the next page. And okay, is there actually going to be any instructions in here eventually? Okay, there will be. We're at the middle of the manual here and we're not to the actual assembly instructions yet, but here, this is pretty cool. Here's some artwork of it here in like a few different alternate color schemes there. Just kind of playing into the whole like night kind of theme with these different kind of night color schemes. That's pretty interesting. We got some more art here on the next page, and then we're finally into the actual instructions. So here is our parts list. Pretty minimal, not a ton of parts here with this. As we've seen with the Zarov, taking a look at a couple of versions of the Zarov in the past. I mean, they're basically like HG kits, but this construction looks pretty on par with that, fairly simple. Pretty straightforward, just a couple of pages there. The weapons are also going to be pretty simple too. The shield, the lance, just a few parts each. This spear there as well, pretty simple. And then another little bit of artwork here at the very end. And I think that's it. And then we do have one part that's separated off the runner, the shield part, which is just a white piece, but as you can see, obviously here it's plated with gold for the shield there, looks really cool. And then getting into the runners, we've got a couple of hand runners, small ones here in this softer gray plastic, looks like closed fists, open expressive hands, and weapon holding hands there. And you really love to see this too. Our beam saber effect parts, we've got our two regular beam saber effect parts there in clear pink, and this one curved slashing effect part there as well. really awesome to have that included. For the A runner, it's going to be a bunch of our white armor pieces, and we've got 2 of those. That's going to continue here onto runner B, and you can see it looks like this is probably where that shield part was, but it was clipped from the runner there to get that gold painting on it. The C runner is in a kind of light gray, so that'll be a very nice accent there for the armor. And then as we're getting to the kind of just normal gray inner frame and kind of mechanical detail parts here, we've got runner D, 2 of those. Runner E for some more of those, looks like mostly kind of weapons parts here in gray. And then runners F and G for a continuation of the kind of inner frame. I think these F and G runners, there's 2 of the G runner, are the advanced polymer technology runners, where it's like a kind of very interesting feel to the plastic. I talked about this in the first review of the Zarov. They had these as well, where it's not like softer like polycap material, but it's definitely a more kind of resilient plastic, very flexible sort of, so it's interesting. It's not like ABS though either. But that's it for the runners. Let me go ahead and get this built up and we'll check it out. Alright guys, here it is all put together. It feels really solid in hand. Fun, simple construction, really nice build on this. Great details, some really cool weapons and accessories here with this one. So really is kind of just like the full package, everything you could really want. We even have option parts for the head. We got a nice selection of hand option parts with this. As far as like the build goes too, I mean, like there's hardly anything when it comes to like seam lines, things like that. So I mean, really, really nice kit. Just another great example of why I've just really been enjoying the Sheik Mainland releases as of late, and this is just another example of that. But let's go ahead and get into it here in a little bit more detail, and I'll show you why. So first of all, for those hand option parts, we've got this set of closed fists here on the kit. We've also got this set of very nice, expressive, open, outstretched hands here, and then our set of weapon holding hands here. Now, the only thing that I'll say about the hands is that I don't like that they're molded in that little bit softer plastic, and also you can see some of the mold injection pins there, some of those like little circle bits there in the hand. You could also see it on the inside of the open hand there a little bit. So that's one thing that's a little bit unfortunate about these, but otherwise it's a really nice set of option hands for this. We also have some extra parts here for those little rings there on the front of the chest. I'm not sure if that's meant to be like Vulcans or something, or just a little detail part. You've got an extra set of those, which is nice to have just because those are very small and probably look fragile parts that could easily be either lost or broken. So it's nice to have a couple of spares of those. I mentioned the option heads. So we've got 2 different options here for the head. One has like the smaller crest and kind of a little bit different part there at the front. Now it's not swappable, so like maybe you like this taller crest, but you like this part for like the front of the head better, and you wanted to just swap the crest part. Unfortunately, you can't. It's just kind of like a set. Either you have one head or the other. They are both really cool and don't necessarily have like a ton of color separation. Like, and I think that's just by design, by like having a separate part for the eyes or something like that. Maybe like a really thin part for like a clear part for that would go in there. Maybe for like those like little slits on the front of that one or on the front of this one, just as like a kind of camera visor part inside there. Maybe would have been cool, but it would have been really small and probably like really difficult to see anyway. Up next then, the shield here looks really nice with that gold accent on the back side. You can see how this is just going to plug into the back side of the arm. There's a hard point right there. So this is not going to be in the hand at all. So it leaves your hand still open for holding a weapon while you have the shield attached onto the arm via just a ball joint there. So that'll move around. And then you can see we also have our 2 handles for the beam sabers attached here on the back of the shield. Then again, for those beam saber effect parts, you have 2 straight clear pink beams and then 1 curved beam, which is going to be really nice for doing action poses. Kind of a shame you didn't have 2 of the curved ones as well, but at least the one is really nice. Then we've got this sort of double-ended spear weapon. This can actually be separated there at the middle. You're just going to remove this kind of middle part there, and it can be 2 separate handheld weapons like that. Alternatively, you can remove the kind of spear end off of that and attach it onto this longer staff kind of handle here like that, and just have 1 long spear, which is really cool. And then last but not least, we've got its lance weapon here, of course, as well. And so this one is also just going to plug into the back of the arm. See, just via that peg right there. Then this peg will go into the hand, and then this will kind of close down over the top of that so that it looks like it's kind of closed around our weapon holding hand. So it's going to be an underhanded grip here, just like that. And because that also attaches into the forearm, it's a very nice, solid grip on that. So even though it's a fairly good size weapon here, I mean, it's not like super huge, but going to be able to have a really nice, solid grip grip on that and not have to worry about any weight issues. But as I said before, the kit also just feels really solid in hand already anyway. And while I'm swapping the hand back off there, one thing that I'll mention here about the wrist joint, I really like how the wrist joint is kind of really nicely integrated into the design there. Normally, like on a lot of kits, the wrist joint is just kind of like this weird thing that's just kind of like in between the arm and the hand. But this one I think looks really nice, and there's just like kind of a small thing, but I really like how that looks. Obviously, we've got double joints here at the elbow and down here for the knee as well. So you can see when we bend that knee, we're going to get a nice full bend. No separation of this knee armor there, but again, a nice hiding of the seam lines by basically having this front piece as a separate part, and the back part of the leg has just this panel line detail running down the back of it to hide the fact that there's a seam line there. Unfortunately, probably the most notable seam line is really just going to be here on the forearm. There you've got this seam that just runs down the inside and outside there of the forearm. You could try maybe just turning that into a panel line as well. Kind of a shame that that wasn't designed in a little bit different way, maybe like a front half and a back half of that were just like solid round pieces or something would have been nice. But there's no seams here on this shoulder. That's a solid part there to cover that up. There is going to be sort of a seam here on these backpack parts. You can see between like the top and bottom half of this like white shell for these booster parts here on the back. And then as for these backpack parts, really, I mean, there's not a whole lot that they're going to do. They're going to be able to move around on this small little connection arm. You can kind of adjust the positioning of those as you need, but otherwise that's pretty much about it. Here on the back skirt, as you can see, there's no like connection point for any of the weapons to like connect onto the back skirt or anything. So basically it's just kind of whatever you have in hand. Obviously the handles for the beam sabers are going to be stored in the back side of the shield, but that's it as far as like weapon storage goes. You are going to have a standard 3mm hard point up underneath the waist right there for plugging this onto a base. So unfortunately, there's no action base. Unfortunately, no base included, but this will work with any Bandai or Kotobukiya regular kind of action base for displaying this. And on that note, I really would recommend getting an action base to go along with this, just because you have a really nice set of weapons and a really nice dynamic range of movement with this that you're really going to want to show that off, and you can do that best on an action base. That said, I mean, there's plenty of really cool ground poses that you can do with this as well, just because of how solid it is, even though you do kind of have sort of small feet there, just with those little pointy toe feet. And it is kind of top heavy with it having those backpack parts, then like a pretty big like upper half with the large shoulders and all that. But I mean, you can do lots of really cool poses on the ground as well. So action base not like 100% required, but again, just something that I would recommend for you guys. But another really awesome kit in this line, I'm just telling you guys, if you haven't tried out this line of model kits from Sheik Mainland, you really do need to try them out. If you typically enjoy HG Gunpla, like mecha models in about this size, with this being comparable in size to that of like a 144 scale Gundam model kit, I think these kits really do have a lot to offer in terms of just giving you something a little bit different. You have some really nice weapon options with this one, as I mentioned, like hand options. There's a little bit kind of pro and con with the hand options, but it's just nice to have those options there, and especially if you're not planning on painting or anything, I mean, you're not going to have any issue with the hands with this. And then of course we can't forget about the fact that you do also have water slide decals included as well. There was just like that small sheet, you know, not a ton, but definitely that's nice to have. So a lot to appreciate about a kit like this, and the other kits in the line have all been very similar. So again, it's just a line that I would really recommend you guys to check out. There's a couple more that I have in the queue that I'm going to be looking at in the near future here that I'm really looking forward to building, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed, just so you don't miss those future reviews. But if you guys are wanting to check out some more of these kits for yourself, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. We've got this kit as well as the other different color variations of this, so that's another thing just to keep in mind, that there are different color versions of this same kit. If the white maybe doesn't do it for you, you can check out what other color versions are available, and everything else from Sheik Mainland and other third-party mecha models and Bandai, Kotobukiya, and everything else. You can check all that out there on the website. So thank you guys so much for checking out the video here today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this really nice kit as much as I did, and if you did, make sure to leave a like while you're here as well. I really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in the next one. Later.